Hey everyone, and welcome to the channel. Let's go ahead and look at my reading plans for the month of February. And first up, we have got to talk about The Fugitive Prince by Janie Wirtz. I actually started this in January and had originally planned for this to take me about 2 months to read. So obviously I knew it was going to continue into February, but unfortunately I have read a lot less of this than I thought I was going to. January has just been an extremely busy month for me overall in life. And so sitting down and reading, especially physically, is not something I've had the same amount of time to do as I normally would. So hopefully this is something that I'll have a little bit more time to do in February and I can get close to finishing it, if not finishing it, and if not, it will just bleed over into March. That's okay with me. These are books that I like to read pretty slowly, kind of ingest everything that's going on and just, be present with the story. I think it's one of those stories that you can really do that with, and we actually have another one later on that we will talk about that I will hopefully be getting to as well in the month of February. Next up, this is a little bit of a wild card for me, and this wasn't necessarily my choice, but I told my girlfriend that we could read a book together, and she has been wanting to read Fourth Wing for a while, and so we are going to go ahead and jump in and read Fourth Wing together. This is a 21-hour-ish audiobook, so I'm hoping it reads pretty fast, even though I'm going to be listening to it. I don't think this is one that's going to take too much brain power. I tried my hand at a little bit of romantasy last year, and it ended up not really being romantasy. I mean, there was a romance element to the book, and it was in a fantasy setting, but to me, it was much more close to a cozy fantasy kind of story, and it wasn't really something that I personally would count as romantasy. It didn't have any of that spice that I think people talk about. So while I'm not expecting anything crazy from this, I am also slightly curious to read Fourth Wing. It's obviously been such like a cultural phenomenon, really, for a lot of people, and like I know the third book just came out, and it was like all over the place. People were so excited for it, and I mean, like I said, I don't expect to like love this or anything like that, but I am curious just to see like what do people see in it? Like, is it just the spicy stuff that people are really enjoying from it? Is there some like good fantasy elements? Is there good story? Like, I don't know. I've heard all kinds of different things. I've heard people who absolutely hated it and think it's trash, and obviously I know people who absolutely love it. So I'm kind of curious to see where I fall in that spectrum, even though I think I'm going to be more on the negative side. But sometimes not everything has to be like literary excellence, right? Sometimes it can just be like a fun, I don't want to say goofy, goofy's not probably the right word here, but it can just be like a fun, like popcorny kind of read. It doesn't need to be overly serious. Not everything needs to be, like I said, the next great masterpiece that's going to change the way I look at the world. Sometimes it's okay to just like chill out and relax. And with how busy I've been in real life, maybe it'll be nice to kind of shut the brain off a little bit and just be here in the Fourth Wing. I don't really know exactly. I know there's dragons, so that at least should be cool, I guess. Speaking of dragons, this is the next book up, and this is The Desert Talon. I should have made the Talon yellow after thinking about it, but this is by Karen Luochi, and it is only a 3.5-hour book. This is actually book 2 in the Crown of Isha series. The Mountain Crown is a book that I have talked about quite a bit here, and this is one of my most anticipated releases. At the time I'm recording, I think I'm still the first and only person to give a rating to the first book on Audible, so I highly recommend you go out and check it out. Like I said, super short. I think the writing is very impactful. I think it's a story that does something that most books would need like 4 times the amount of pages to do in the time it does it. And so I'm very interested to see. It doesn't look like this is necessarily 100% a direct sequel. It looks like we're going to be following a different character in a different place in different settings, but inside of the same world. So I'm kind of curious on how exactly that is going to work out. I didn't do too much like looking into this because it's so short. I feel like by the time I'm reading it and getting into it, that's good enough for me. But next up, this is actually a very, very famous movie. I believe it is a movie from the 30s. I don't know if there's been any remakes. I don't actually even know if the 30s is correct, but that is The Maltese Falcon by Dashiell Hammett, I believe is how you say that. And this is only a 3-hour or so audiobook. And I'll be honest, I don't even really know what this movie is about. I think it's like a mystery thriller crime kind of story. That's even a guess. I don't actually know. I've never seen the movie, and I didn't even know it was a book until like a couple weeks ago, but I heard it was a book and I was like, a really famous movie that people really love. It has a book. I want to read it, even though it's, an older book and I really don't know much about it. I do normally like a crime, mystery, thriller kind of story. So I'm hoping that the Maltese Falcon can deliver on that. And you'll see a theme here that some of these books are really, really short, and it's because there are some really big heavy hitters. Obviously, Fourth Wing is a little bit longer. The Fugitive Prince is longer, and the last book I'll probably talk about is also a little bit longer. So, I'm trying to mix in some of these shorter ones, and hopefully this is a crime thriller kind of thing. And honestly, this might just be an excuse for me to end up watching watching the movie. This is something that I have noticed I'd like to do. I did it with Jaws, and I've done it with a few other things, but like I like to read some of these books that really, really popular movies are based on and see like how it stacks up, which ones I like more. Like for example, the Jaws movie is so much better than the Jaws book. I think Jurassic Park, the book, and the movie are like super different in good ways, and I think they both have merits. So I think I prefer the movie, but the book is also still really good. And so this year I'm going to be doing it with the Maltese Falcon and probably something else by the time the end of the year comes around. But sticking with the kind of crime thriller kind of story, we have A Call for the Dead by John Lee Cray. This is part of the George Smiley books, and I have referred to these as the anti-James Bond books. So these are apparently spy thriller kind of stories, which I love. I really love the James Bond series. It's probably one of my all-time favorite series. I read all of the original Ian Fleming James Bond books and really liked it. But those are kind of a very interesting interpretation of like what a spy would actually be doing. Apparently the author who wrote this was actually a spy, and he disliked the James Bond books and the way it portrayed like how being a spy was, that he wrote these to be a much more realistic interpretation of a spy. I hope I'm getting that exactly right. I'm probably not. So I'm very interested to go in and read these because I feel like they're going to be a really interesting counterpoint to all of the James Bond stuff I have read. And so once again, this is a short one. This is only a 4.5-hour audiobook. So this is once again a very, very short one. And yeah, like I said, I'm just really curious. I miss James Bond, but I think it'll be interesting to read something that's maybe a little bit more realistic, a little bit more grounded, and we'll see if I like it. I think there's 7 of these books. So this is kind of one of those series where if I really like this first one, I will definitely continue on with the rest. I don't think you actually have to read them in order, but normally if that's what happens. I like to read things in order, at least in publication order most of the time. So at least we'll have that going for me. And then the last thing I am planning on reading for this month for sure. There's one other thing. There's a couple maybes and some other things that are maybe a little bit more short than others. But the other thing that I definitely want to get back to is Malazan with House of Change by Steven Erikson. Now, it's been quite a while since I finished Memories of Ice, and I have really started to feel the pull of the Malazan world. So House of Chains is obviously the 4th book in the series, and we kind of go back to more of the POVs from what my understanding is of the characters in Dead House Gates a little bit before I believe the 5th book goes to like a completely new place with completely new characters and everything. So I'm kind of thinking of this almost as the end of an arc. Those first 4 books are kind of like an arc contained, even though they probably play on later in the series. That's kind of how I'm thinking about it right now. And yeah, just recently I've really started to just kind of miss Malazan, which is a weird thing for me because while I have really liked a lot of Malazan, it's not like before this something that I'm like, ooh, I really, really want to get back to it. But I'm feeling that pull. House of Chains is really calling to me, so I'm excited to get to it. I doubt this will not be a book that I probably finish in this month. It's like a 35-hour audiobook, so maybe if I can get everything else going, it's a possibility. I won't say it's not, but I am very much excited for that. And then just a couple other maybes. I was lucky enough to get sent a e-arc of the J.A.J. Minton, also known as Talking Story, their book Discovery, and I made the Discovery Channel planet there. But if I have time, I definitely plan on diving into that. I've heard really good things from some other people who have already read it. I think they were like, I don't know if they were beta readers or just kind of like even earlier readers, but I'm very much looking to that. I know that this book doesn't release for a little bit, so I have a little bit of time before I feel like I want to get to it, but it's definitely something that is, if I have some time, I'm going to slip it in there. My real goal would be to finish The Fugitive Prince and then read this, because I also have this on like an e-arc edition. So I would love to finish The Fugitive Prince and then do this, but it might end up being something where I kind of jump between the two. So we'll have to see. And then just some other maybes is the Lonesome Crown. I definitely want to finish the Five Warrior Angels trilogy here really soon. I should be finishing the Blackest Heart here soon. So, you know, hopefully I can get to that before too long. And then Empire of Silence is one that I definitely want to get to, but it's just kind of getting bumped down the priority list, which it seems to always do, which is a mistake for me because it's a series that I think I'm going to absolutely love, and I keep depriving myself of it for some reason. But outside of just my normal novel reading, I will also read a little bit of manga. The 2 main focuses are going to continue to be Dragon Ball Super and Frennen Beyond Journey's End. I haven't read too much of either of those. I'm still very early on, but I'm enjoying both so far. And then I will continue reading some of my other series like Boruto, Black Clover, Kaiju Number 8, One Piece. Hopefully we'll see Berserk, Vinland Saga. Some of those have weird release schedules, so we'll see exactly where those fall in. But those are my general reading plans for this month. Definitely let me know what you plan on reading. Do you think I'm making a giant mistake by spending a little bit of time reading Fourth Wing? I think it'll be fun because me and my girlfriend will get to talk about it and it'll be worth it. We'll probably actually make a video about it, so that should be fun. But like I said, definitely let me know what you plan on reading. If you plan on reading any of these things with me, definitely let me know. We can talk about it down below in the comments. But that is all for me. And remember, read what you want when you want.